Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of February 16th to the 22nd, 2025. And obviously, February is coming to a close, and it's looking more and more likely we may not get a February Direct or anything like that. Now, we won't know. Maybe next week we'll get one. Maybe we won't. We just don't know, at least at this time. But I will say I wouldn't be surprised if we do not get a February Direct or anything like that. But time will ultimately tell if that does happen or not. But anyway, we got 4 stories to cover, including the former president of Sony weighing in on his time working basically, with the PlayStation brand and everything like that, and some interesting comments he made. Nintendo basically ending their My Nintendo rewards programs and somewhat their gold points to a certain degree, or at least slowing down the My Nintendo stuff, though. An interview made by Phil Spencer took part with Xbox Era and some of the comments that he's made going forward. And basically, the president of Nintendo responded to the questions about the possibility of U.S. tariffs being used and what impact that could have on the launch of the Switch 2 when that does happen and everything. So, and if you're interested where I got the source of this information, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. But before we get started, I'd like to do what I like to call the quick My 2 Cents, stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details or anything like that. The first one has to do with an announcement that I would say kind of left field, or one that I don't think a lot of people were expecting, and that is a new game based off of the anime Samurai Pizza Cat is in development as an action RPG. Currently, it's being available as a wish list on Steam, but there are plans to bring it to multiple systems, including, like the Nintendo Switch and maybe Switch 2 and everything like that. I don't have a huge amount of memories about that anime. I may have seen it here and there on TV before, but never really, I would say, get into it as much, though. And to hear this one getting a video game, that's interesting to a certain degree, but we'll see how well this one is responds to fans out there and everything like that. We also learned that Machine Gun Game is supposedly coming up with some ideas or things after their conclusion with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. No word on what they might be working on. It is possible they could do another Wolfenstein game. That is a possibility. But it could be something completely different or anything like that. So we'll have to see what Machine Gun Games or Machine Games is working on and everything. We also learned that supposedly there might be some, might want to be careful using the NES titles from limited run games, as 2 of the games apparently may damage your console, though. Supposedly the report is that one of them, I think it's the Rugrat game, might do some harm to your console and everything like that. Supposedly limited run is looking into it and everything like that, but yeah, that is basically not something that people, that's not good for limited run games, indeed. We also learned that the folks, CD Projekt Red, is currently their work on the sequel to Cyberpunk 2077. They're saying that they are working on the most realistic and reactive crowd system and everything like that. I do hope the sequel is a success and everything like that. I am enjoying the first game and everything. I just hope that CD Projekt Red had learned their lesson from the launch of Cyberpunk 2077, how that has all been, handled and everything. Hopefully they learned that, especially going into their upcoming release of Witcher 4 and all. So I'm hoping the sequel is good. I would like to see this one do very well, but time will tell if they've learned their lesson on this from what happened with Cyberpunk 2077 when that launched or not. We also learned that supposedly Rocksteady's next single-player game could be not only another Batman, but as been reported before, but supposedly it could be based off Batman Beyond, which, if that's true, that would be kind of interesting to see. The other rumors seem to indicate that it could be a PS5 exclusive. Now, neither Sony or WB Games or Rockstar has said anything at this time. That would be interesting if it is a PS5 exclusive, But on the other hand, we've seen some companies have started to move away from that kind of exclusivity. Square Enix is one example. After supposedly Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth didn't do at least as well as they were hoping for, they have started to take a more of a multi-platform approach than they did in the past, although there's some back and forth into whether or not they think some people took not doing well on the PS5 way out of context and everything. So it's a whole lot of stuff with that one though. But I would be curious if it's a Batman Beyond game, and it would be very interesting if it even takes place in the Arkham universe, cinematic Arkham universe, or anything like that. So time will ultimately tell. Hopefully we'll learn about what Rocksteady might be working on down the road and all. We also learned that supposedly there has been some tease about the possibility of another Tony Hawk game. Basically, there's been one about one of the skaters was interviewed and mentioned that he was in a Tony Hawk game, while there has been supposedly the mention of Tony Hawk or something like that in a Call of Duty game or anything like that. Most people are speculating it could be Tony Hawk 3 and 4, similar to what we have with 1 or 2. Others believe it could be a brand new Tony Hawk game. If it is Tony Hawk 3 and 4 and that one does well, it'll be interesting to see if they decide to go and maybe remaster or remake Tony Hawk Underground 1 and 2, if that does happen. If they ever do a brand new one, hopefully they learn their lesson from Tony Hawk 5, because that one didn't go over well with everybody out there. And last but not least, Microsoft basically made a comment about using AI to revive classic Xbox games. And to some degree, I could see this working if it's done right, though. When it comes to AI in general, I'm very mixed about it, though. I can definitely see it being useful if it acts as sort of like a co-pilot and helping the employees out. But to completely replace the employees, that's where I kind of have to draw the line with it, though. As far as using this to help revive classic Xbox games, again, I think it could work if it's utilized correctly and done the right way, though. So we'll see if this one does happen. I am curious to see if this would work, but when it comes to AI, I kind of view it as a double-edged sword in general. And in the movie and TV show part of the Quick My 2 Cent, we are learning about how, in terms of the weight of Creatures Commandos Season 2, I enjoyed the first one. I thought that one was really neat and everything like that. So we may have to wait maybe a little bit longer on that. It seems obviously they're busy doing some other stuff. Some of the folks who worked on Season 1 of Creature Commando is currently working, doing the Harley Quinn show and everything like that. And obviously James Gunn is gearing up for the upcoming Superman movie and all. So we may have to wait a little while for that one, but I am hoping to see a Season 2 of Creature Commandos. I definitely would be down with that. We also learned that so far Marvel Studios may have shelved 3 Disney Plus series for the MCU. Some of them range from the idea of Doctor Strange, partner, I think his name Doc Wong or something. Basically, having him control, having him do, sort of like the Sorceress University and everything like that. Similar to what we saw at the ending of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and all. It doesn't, now some might be disappointed for this, but it doesn't automatically mean that they are gone for good or anything like that. There were reports of how Daredevil Born Again was shelved for a bit, but then brought back, and now we're getting a new series on Disney Plus and all. So we'll have to wait and see. I hope these shows don't get shelved, but time will ultimately tell if we see another revival to it or anything like that. Obviously, Marvel Studios is going through a certain phase right now. They're trying to reorganize some things and do more of a quality than quantity kind of approach. We also learned that supposedly The Last of Us Season 2 will have basically shorter, let's just say it won't have as much episodes as, say, the first season was, to be exact, though. I am curious to see how they do Season 2 Last of Us. Obviously, it's going to be based off of Last of Us Part 2, which is considered controversial to some folks out there, depending on who you're asking. But at the same time, I am very curious how that's going to play out and how they can stretch The Last of Us Part 2 during several different seasons. So that's going to be very interesting indeed. We also learned that in interesting news, Amazon MGM has now taken full control of the James Bond series and everything like that. It's going to be very interesting to see what this means going forward with how this is going to work. I mean, the last one was No Time to Die, starring Daniel Craig, and now with Daniel Craig no longer doing James Bond, it's going to be interesting to see who takes up the mantle and what approach they're going to take for the James Bond series going forward. And last but not least, it seems that Captain America Brave New World is still doing very well at the box office and all. Supposedly it has overtook 2023's The Marvel, which was considered a box office bomb to a lot of folks and everything like that. After seeing the movie last week, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. There were some neat moments though, but I will admit it's not as good as the first and second Captain America movie, but still it does seem to indicate that it is doing very well, at least for now. Hopefully this continues, maybe Marvel's streak of trying to rebuild like the brand and all. Obviously last year's Deadpool and Wolverine certainly was a shot in the arm that they really needed. Hopefully they can continue that trend indeed going forward and all. Okay, with the Quick My 2 Cent part now done, along with the movie and TV show part of the Quick My 2 Cent, we'll get started with our first story. And this one, before I begin, it's going to be about Nintendo and tariffs. Now, before I begin talking about this, I do want to warn anybody who's watching this video that for some, this is going to be political to folks out there. So if you don't want to watch this video, see the timestamps in the description of this video if you want to skip this video altogether. But in the meantime, I am going to stand behind what I say, even if some might view it political or not. I am going to still stand behind it no matter what. So no ifs, ands, maybes, or buts about it though. With that out of the way, we are going to be talking about basically the whole situation with Nintendo and the risk of the whole tariff situation. Now, as some of you are aware, President Trump, along with his buddy Elon Musk and everything, are looking at imposing a high tariff on basically stuff, not only goods in Canada and Mexico, but in other places like China. And we have seen some response to it. Canada has recently encouraged people, their citizens, not to go to America or buy American products and everything like that. We're also seeing some negative effects on border towns in America that are feeling the pinch on this as well and everything like that. And the whole situation with the tariff thing has sort of basically raised questions about the possibility of electronic devices, including the upcoming release of the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, granted, we don't know yet about the price or anything like that. Many assume we'll hear something on April 2nd when Nintendo decides to talk more about the Switch 2 and everything like that. But there are some concerns about the whole tariff situation could have an impact on the sales of the Switch 2. Well, recently the CEO of Nintendo, Furukawa, if I'm saying this name correctly, recently responded to this when this whole situation this question was brought up. In an article from Nintendo Life, it reads that acknowledging this, Nintendo President Furukawa had said the company is looking into the potential impact that the tariffs could have on the upcoming fiscal year of the launch of the Switch 2. As reported by Reuters and translated by Nintendo Everything, Furukawa explains in a press conference that the company is predicting various geopolitical risks and establishing ways to respond. Nintendo Switch is not only manufactured in China, Furukawa said, but in places such as Vietnam and Cambodia as well. With many Switch consoles already imported to the US by the time the tariffs came into effect, Furukawa suggests that there should be little financial damage this fiscal year. While we anticipate a certain impact, the influence of this year's financial results is expected to be minimal. Nintendo's president didn't comment specifically on fiscal year 2025 and 2026 and the launch of the Switch 2, though there's every chance that the impact may be greater. Nintendo expanded its manufacturer operation outside China in 2019 when proposed tariffs once again threatened to drive up prices. In a rare display of unity, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft joined forces to pen a letter to the US government warning the tariffs negatively affect on the gaming industry should console sales not be exempt from the increases taxes though. The letter led to a successful outcome from companies in 2019, though 6 years later, no such exceptions currently seems to be in place. We'll have to wait and see just how minimum of an impact the price increase has on consumer spending when there's a hot new console on the market. So obviously, according to Nintendo, they are sort of preparing themselves, at least for this situation, to a certain extent, though. But beyond that, it remains to be seen at this time, though. First of all, I do want to say I don't like Trump. I don't like Elon Musk. I don't like MAGA in general, and I stand behind saying that. And I think the tariff situation is absolutely stupid. I don't think they should have existed in the first place, though. And this just seems to be more like trying to bully Trump's attempt to try to act like he's this big like this big bully and everything like that. Only this time he's doing more harm and good to our economy when pulling this kind of shenanigans. Indeed, though. But as far as what Nintendo seems to be doing, like I said, sounds like they seem to be okay for now, but it's going to be very interesting to see how things are in the foreseeable future, especially after the Switch 2 launches, though. Not to mention, it's going to be interesting to see how this will impact when eventually the PlayStation 6 comes out, to Xbox's next console, to even, PC parts, though, for those who like to game on PC as well. So this could have serious impact on folks like our hobby on this and everything like that. So there are going to be a lot of people who could be very impacted by this and all. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, though. But like I said, I stand behind this. The tariffs should never have existed in the first place. I think it's a bad policy and a bad idea to begin with, though. And like I said, not a fan of Trump. I do not like him. Not a fan of Elon Musk. I don't like him. And I'm sure as hell I'm not a fan of the MAGA crowd who goes around and willing to white knight and defend somebody who's willing to screw them over on a daily basis. To me, that's like watching someone, that's like not only rewarding bad behavior, but it's also like watching someone defend their abusive relationship and everything like that. So overall, I think the tariffs are bad. This is not a smart move for the U.S. government to make, though. As far as Nintendo, they seem to be preparing themselves for this situation, but it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out in the long run and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with Phil Spencer doing an interview and everything like that. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at some comments made by Phil Spencer. Recently, he sat down with an interview with, Xbox era and all, and this had to do with a couple of things that he talked about in terms of ranging from, the platform, cloud gaming, and, their games being on other systems and all. And there were some interesting comments that he made in terms of showcases, in terms of their showcase and so forth. And even one of the former execs is sort of basically defending Microsoft's strategy and everything like that. So in terms of what they're going to show this year, they talked about how they want to be transparent and honest about the type of games they're bringing over. One of the comments they made, though, about, or at least this is what he said about games being announced in the foreseeable future and everything like that in terms of Microsoft's strategy. He said, quote, "I just want to be transparent with people for shipping on Nintendo Switch. We're going to put that for shipping on PlayStation, on Steam. People should know the storefront where they can get our games, but I want people to experience our Xbox community in our games and everything we have to offer on every screen that we can." They also mentioned in the past, though, that they are going to be, you could see more of a Switch 2 on there as well and everything like that. It's still, I'm still a little mixed on Microsoft's strategy in terms of doing this and everything like that, but there's no denying that the strategy seems to be paying off for them, and they are certainly making a lot of money and everything like that. So little mixed on it, but at the end of the day, it is still this is their decision they want to make. It's their call, and this is where they want to go. That's sort of the thing. They also talked about basically they're not in the market to convince those who own a Switch or a PS5 to switch over to like the Xbox or anything like that. During that interview, this is what Phil Spencer had to say about in terms of trying to convince PS5 and Switch players to move over. He said, quote, "There are people, whether their library is on PlayStation or Nintendo, whether they like the controller better, they just like the games that they are. And I don't want them to look at that and say, well, there's no way we should be able to build a business there, find fans of our franchise there. I'm not trying to move them all over to Xbox anymore. People were also invested into where our games are. Let's just allow more people to play." Again, this basically is part of their third party push and everything like that, though. It is still an interesting still very interesting in terms of them doubling down on this and everything like that. I get where Phil is going with this, though. Still mixed on the strategy, but definitely I don't understand why. That's complete opposite of what Sony and Nintendo is doing, particularly with Nintendo, that wants you to convince you to, hey, you want to play our first-party games, buy our systems and everything like that, though. Again, some folks agree with this strategy, some don't. One of those folks apparently is the former CEO or one of the former executives who used to work at who used to work, at Blizzard and everything like that. I think it's Mike YBARRA has sort of weighed in on this multi-platform strategy that Microsoft has been doing, and this is what he had to say. Quote, "They've been consistent. They are a publisher now and support all platforms. It's the right strategy for them and their business. Sure, it took a while for them to get clear on this, balancing selling hardware and managing customers with the reality of the strategy. I love that their games are on PC and PS5. I get loyal Xbox gamers are mad, but this isn't going to change anything. Embrace and move on. Play on what you enjoy on. If you're a console-only person, that probably means PlayStation or Nintendo in the future, but you still have Xbox games there. PlayStation and Nintendo should work with Xbox on some type of friends transfer system, etc. Eventually, they should be done to help people stay connected with their friends. We'll never see a universal gaming social platform, but I do wish we could and all." So obviously, one of the former executives at Blizzard weighed in on this and believed that this is the right call and everything like that. Again, I do think it is certainly a debatable strategy for Microsoft to take, though. I can understand why there are some longtime Xbox fans who might not appreciate the strategy and everything like that. But at the same time, it seems to be doing very well for them. Yes, it is pretty clear the hardware is down. There's been some questions about that. But so far, the software seems to be doing well. Their supposedly service is doing very well and everything like that. And to them, that seems to be more important than, say, the hardware side it was, at least in the past and everything. So it is an interesting stuff that Phil Spencer is saying and everything like that. I still view it as a controversial decision, but it seems to be, for now at the very least, it seems to be paying off for them and everything. So overall, I would say obviously they're doubling down on this strategy that Phil Spencer mentioned during the interview with Xbox Era and all, but obviously there are those who are going to be mixed about it, but so far they're doubling down on this, and it seems to be working for them at this time. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our part 3, and that will be Nintendo ending the My Nintendo rewards and everything like that. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at, supposedly there's going to be changes to the My Nintendo rewards program, as it looks like Nintendo is starting to wind them down. Now, for those who are not familiar, though, those who signed up for the My Nintendo, and this was when the Switch One was getting started and everything like that, you basically earn these gold coins. Some of these are if you purchase through the Nintendo eShop. Other times you get these coins when you buy like a physical game, then you enter it into, My Nintendo Rewards, they add them in. These coins, though they have an expiration date and everything like that, can be used to basically knock the price off of certain games, and it could come in handy for whether it's purchasing a digital game or if you're looking at basically buying a DLC or something like that. So it's a pretty neat idea and everything that Nintendo had. The game vouchers, I've heard of it, but I never really used any of the game vouchers at all. Well, it appears as though as we get closer to the end of March and everything like that of this year, it looks like Nintendo is going to end not only the game voucher part, but the gold coins as well. In one of their websites, basically is an important notice. They pointed out in terms of the My Nintendo gold points will be discontinued. They're saying beginning at 9:30 p.m. Pacific time on March 24th this year, users will no longer be able to earn My Nintendo gold points. Gold points will no longer be earned for digital purchases on the Nintendo eShop after 9:30 p.m. Pacific time on March 24th. Gold points will no longer be earned on physical games released after March 24th. For physical games that were released on or before March 24th, gold points may still be earned by registering eligible titles within 1 year of the original release date of the game. All earned gold points will continue to be valid and redeemed for 12 months after they are issued. In regards of the vouchers, or the Switch game vouchers thing, there is a report coming out, at least this from My Nintendo, indicating that they won't be available on the Switch 2. The article reads, quote, Nintendo has confirmed this morning that it's doing away with the Nintendo Switch game voucher scheme with the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2. The game voucher scheme allows My Nintendo subscribers to purchase 2 discounted game vouchers which can be used against Nintendo games on the Nintendo eShop. This follows today's news that gold point scheme is being scrapped at the end of March. Now, I am kind of mixed on this to a certain extent, though. On one hand, I do think it is a little disappointing that Nintendo is ending this program and everything like that. I didn't never use the game voucher thing, but the gold points, I have used them before, especially when you're buying anything like, anything on the eShop, whether it's a DLC or anything like that. So it is a little unfortunate that they are ending this program and everything like that. On the other hand, I can understand why they're ending this though. I mean, with the Nintendo Switch 2 on the horizon, again, we're still hoping to hear a release date and the price point, and hopefully we'll learn by April 2nd and everything like that. It is possible they're looking at creating something new and different than what they did with the Switch 1 and everything. So I'm mixed on this decision for Nintendo, though. Part of me kind of wish that they kept this program and moved it over to the Switch 2, but at the same time, they could be offering something better and everything. So we're going to have to wait and see how this all plays out. Obviously, for some folks, this isn't great news, though. For me, I kind of view it as I'm a little disappointed with this. It is unfortunate, but it's not something I'm losing absolute sleep over this. So overall, I can understand why some folks might be disappointed with Nintendo ending their gold coin or gold points situation and the game vouchers. But at the same time, I can also see that they might be looking to create something new and maybe something better for, the upcoming release of, Switch 2 and everything. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part, and this one has to do with the former president of Sony. Basically sat down with an interview and made some comments recently here and there. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the former president of Sony, I think Yoshida, if I'm saying his name correctly. He recently sat down and did some interviews lately. He talked about basically his time working as, being the boss of PlayStation, to basically, look back at his career and everything like that. But there were also some comments that were raised that I thought was kind of interesting. Some of this has to do with the whole live service push we've been seeing from Sony, and one in particular in his comments about AA games in general. In regards of the live service, he talked about he played The Last of Us Online and really liked it though. In an article from Push Square, he said that he played the game and it was great. This was part of an interview he had with Scare Symbol Plus, which is behind a paywall and all. Anyway, the article from Push Square says, quote, "The idea for The Last of Us Online came from Naughty Dog and they really wanted to make it," he explained. But Bungie explained to them that what it takes to make a live service game, and Naughty Dog realized, oops, we can't do that. If we do it, we can't make Intergalactic the Helic Prophecy, so it was a lack of foresight. He also continued that, to his knowledge, no first-party studio has been forced to make live service games. He noticed that sometimes teams see the direction the company's heading and pitch their titles accordingly. From my experience, when a studio sees the company has a big initiative, they realize riding on that gives them a better chance of getting a project approved and supported, he explained. It's not like current PS Studio boss Herman Hutz is telling them they need to make a live service game. It's likely mutual. Now, I don't know 100% how accurate that is, but if what he's saying is true and it's really them coming up with the live service game, not Sony pushing to it, then I wouldn't be as much as angry at the higher ups or anything like that. But still, we've seen in the past how higher ups have pushed for, the latest trend, aka live services, and that doesn't always pan out as well as a lot of them had hoped for and all. Maybe at some point, maybe that Last of Us online multiplayer might make a comeback, but right now, Sony's just in a very tough spot with a lot of the live service thing. Obviously, for every success they had with Helldivers 2, there's also Concord, and there's been criticism of how they wasted a generation chasing the live service trend and everything like that. During also that interview, he also talked about the whole AA games and talks about the closure of Japan Studio, saying how these AA games are really difficult for the type of games Japan Studio made though. This was talked about with the PlayStation podcast, the Scare Symbol. When asked about the closure of PlayStation Japan Studios and fans' perception about PlayStation losing its Japanese influence, he claimed that it was the market that dictated Sony's shift and focus away from Japan Studio IP. He said, quote, "During my time, people give me credit, but one of the things I was not successful at was having a successful service game, and the other thing is I was not able to have amazing successful games made in Japan," he said. "Other than Gran Turismo, we had many great products, but didn't really have many AAA level successful products. That's because more and more importantly, as the big games become bigger, the indies fill the gap and the AA markets seem to have disappeared," he told Scare Symbol Plus podcast. Excuse me. Most of the IP that Japan Studio had were on that of a small AA group, and the market became really difficult for these kind of games. For example, after Gravity Rush 2, the director tried to come up with a new concept, but were not able to greenlight any of his new concepts, even though they were really interesting. Speaking more about the director of it, he said, the former CEO said, "In my mind, I remember his product looking like something the company wouldn't support. The company was looking for AAA titles, and we were really struggling to get the game going. So when Japan Studio was shut down and he became independent, he was able to create and release Slitterhead." And what's interesting is that the iconic developer was behind stuff like Ape Escape, Gravity Rush, and Knack, although some people have mixed views on Knack. And so a vast majority of its development staff leave after their annual contracts were not renewed ahead of the company's next business year and all. I do think it's also been reported, I think some of them went to Team Asobi and everything like that. I do have to say on this part though, it is a little disappointing to hear that that the market was trending away from AA kind of experience and everything like that. That is very unfortunate because nowadays with a lot of these so-called AAA games, they take a lot longer to make, and sometimes for a lot of these studios, they ride way too high on these AAA games and relying too heavy on them, and if that game flops, yeah, that could be the end of your studio very quickly and everything like that. And a lot of that, excuse me, is the balloon budget for these games and so forth though. One thing about the AAA, this AA thing that he mentioned though, obviously as I mentioned, most of them moved to Team Asabi, which produced, Astrobot, which was a AA game that did very well for Sony, more than what Concord did, and won them Game of the Year. So I'm hoping, to say the least, the success of that game opens the door for them to look more into maybe bringing back some AA games. So maybe this is an opportunity to bring back something like Gravity Rush or Abe Escape or Sly Cooper or Jack and Daxter and everything like that. As I said before, I'm not saying you can't have AAA games, but you shouldn't rely too heavily on it or anything like that. So obviously the market was different back then, but given where the market is now, I think maybe this is an opportunity to consider bringing those games back and everything like that. So overall, it's an interesting interview. Some stuff I agree with what he says, or at least from what I've read. Some of the stuff I agree with what he said. Some of the stuff, like the AA one, maybe not as much or anything like that. Okay, this concludes this my 2 cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Nintendo's response on the potential situation surrounding, the tariffs and all? Do you think this was the right response for Nintendo to make? Do you think they found a way to sort of try to see how they can handle this despite the tariff situation? Do you think it could be an issue for the Switch 2 in the long run in any way? What are your thoughts about some of the stuff Phil Spencer said supposedly in this Xbox era interview though? Do you think it was right him trying to stop convincing PS5 and Switch players to come over to the Xbox and everything like that? Do you still think this is still a smart move for them doubling down on this multi-platform strategy that they have started to embrace and everything? What are your thoughts about the My Nintendo Rewards or the gold points and the game vouchers coming to an end? Are you disappointed with this news, or do you feel like this maybe they're setting the stage for something better or something new for the Switch 2 and all? And what do you think about the former CEO's comments during this interview though, ranging from indie games to, The Last of Us multiplayer and the live service situation to the AA market disappearing though? Do you think he's right on some of this stuff, or do you disagree with some of the stuff that he said? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me, Patreon, or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!